Have you ever noticed that the loudest voice in the room isn't always the one with the strongest argument? Sometimes all it takes is one calm, well-prepared journalist asking the right questions to completely change the direction of a debate. That's exactly what you're about to see, and trust me, this exchange only gets more revealing as it unfolds. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, I have to admit, there's something incredibly satisfying about watching a British journalist step into a heated political debate and refuse to get dragged into the shouting match. Instead of matching emotion with emotion, they stay focused on the facts, keep their composure, and let the other side unravel on its own. And that's precisely what happens in this clip. We're about to watch UK journalist Lewis Goodall go head-to-head with PBD Podcast co-host Vinny in a debate that quickly turns into a masterclass in the difference between staying composed and losing control. Whether you agree with every point Lewis makes or not, one thing becomes obvious almost immediately. He stays disciplined, sticks to his argument, and refuses to be pulled off course. On the other side, Vinny comes into this discussion with plenty of confidence, but as the conversation progresses, you'll see the temperature rise. Instead of calmly addressing the points being made, the frustration starts to show, interruptions become more frequent, and the discussion becomes increasingly emotional. It's a pattern we've seen play out in political debates time and time again. When the pressure builds, maintaining composure can be just as important as making the argument itself. That's what makes this exchange so interesting. It's not just about immigration, politics, or party loyalty. It's about how people respond when their views are challenged in real time on a live panel. Do they answer the argument, or do they simply raise the volume? As we go through the clip, I'll occasionally pause to point out some of the key moments that stand out, but I'll save my overall thoughts until the end so we can judge the entire exchange in context. With that said, let's jump into the debate and see exactly how this conversation unfolds.
I'm sorry, you are full of you-know-what, all right? It wasn't lost control. It was on purpose. They opened the border to flood the country to bring in their damn...
Yes, and you know what else? And you know what else I know? You know what else I know? That there was a federal process.
Let me finish. You have 1 minute.
By breaking the law.
Can I have 1 minute?
All right, very quickly, Vinny, and then Gillian.
How many ICE detainees died?
Observing what ICE is doing.
That's a lie.
No,
That's a lie.
let me finish, Vinny, let me finish.
You're lying.
Observing, no, I'm not.
You're lying.
I saw it for myself. Observing.
Renee Good was driving her car and barricading it.
Can you let me finish that?
Lewis,
can you let me finish that?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Could you let me finish?
You're lying. Why
Could you let me finish? Have you been in...
ICE don't do what they're doing, then how do you actually identify and remove people who are there in America illegally, and particularly the ones who commit heinous crimes?
Well, something has to be done, Piers. I would agree with you, and I would also agree that part of the reason this story is taking place is because political oxygen and space was created by the Biden administration. No doubt they lost control of the border, and no doubt politics of this on the left went too far. But no one voted in the United States, and I've not been watching it from afar because I've just come back from Minnesota reporting from there for the Newsagents podcast. And I can tell you right now that no one there, including Republicans, voted for what we are seeing. What I saw in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, was the terrorization of ordinary Americans. Everybody there, particularly if you're black or brown, has a story. They have started in the last 50 days or so, taking out their passports with them, taking out their documentation with them. So scared are they about being accosted by ICE officers. Even legal American citizens are worried about being picked up and detained for however long, going to church, going to the supermarket, picking up their kids from school. No one in the United States, even Trump voters, voted for that. Much less did they vote for the killing of American citizens on American streets. And just to pick up what Vinny said, look, there is a reason that these people, many of these people, Rennie Good and Alex Pretty, completely model American citizens. No criminal record, simply people concerned about what is going on in the community. Why are they out observing, just observing, not interfering, observing what ICE is doing?
That's a lie.
No,
That's a lie.
let me finish, Vinny, let me finish.
You're lying.
Observing, no, I'm not.
You're lying.
I saw it for myself. Observing.
Renee Good was driving her car and barricading it.
Can you let me finish, sir?
Lewis,
can you let me finish, sir?
Yeah, but you're lying.
Could you let me finish?
You're lying. Why
Could
was
you let me finish? Have you been in Minnesota recently? Have you been in Minneapolis? Have you watched it? Because I have, and I can tell you.
No, why the hell would I want to go to Minnesota?
Right, okay,
Lewis?
because you believe what you want to believe. I'm telling you what I saw.
Hold on,
I'm telling you
Lewis,
what I saw for myself.
You think Renee Good?
I'm telling you what I saw for myself with my own eyes. People are observing, and why are they observing, sir? They're observing because they know that the federal government will lie about what ICE agents are doing. They have done that repeatedly. They do not wait, as any normal government would do, for an investigation. They do not wait for the facts to emerge. They do not wait to interview observers and people who were there. They simply decree almost instantly that anybody involved is a domestic terrorist. We have seen those lies about Alex Pretty exposed for what they are. He was not trying to massacre anyone, as the Department of Homeland Security claimed. He was observing because he knows that the federal government will lie. If these citizens don't come out and do what they do, they know there can be no justice. They know that these ICE agents will be able to act with impunity. And the proof of the pudding in that is what we have seen with Alex Pretty. If those observers were not there, then he would have been shot in the back as he was, with his gun in his holster, and the federal government would have lied about it. We would have had to believe what they said. Instead, we were able to see, because of the peaceful observations of the people there, we were able to see the truth, which is this was a man who was shot in the back, who was posing no threat whatsoever to those ICE officers. And even the reason that they were there in the first place proved to be a lie. That is the ICE officers. Why did ICE say they were there? They said they were there. No, let me finish. They said that they were there to detain an illegal Ecuadorian who was an ardent criminal. What did it turn out? The Minnesota Department for Corrections made clear when they got the name of this person. His only violations, illegal, yes. Was he a violent criminal? No. He'd had a few traffic violations on his record. Alex Pretty died for a man who basically had sped and gone too fast in his car. I don't think his death, killed in the streets by his own country's officers, is worth that, do you?
But Lewis, all right, but before I go to Gillian, Lewis, but what would you do, right? You're in charge of Homeland Security in the United States. You know millions and millions of people have come in the last 4 years illegally. They're in America. Right? There's a lot of anger about that with a lot of Americans. You've just seen Donald Trump come in with a thumping win on a mandate of dealing with this. If you don't do it the way they're doing it, how do you get these people, identify them, bring them to justice and deport them if they're committing crimes?
I would do two things, Piers. I would obey the law and I would pass immigration reform. If you obey the law, President Obama, Vinny's already said it for himself, President Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. He managed to deport millions of illegals. He did that, and he didn't need to do that by employing what is basically a poorly trained paramilitary force operating with impunity, attacking citizens of the United States. And moreover, if you were to do what has long been necessary in America, which is comprehensive immigration reform, the bargain should have always been, the Democrats get what they want, which is a pathway to citizenship, particularly for children who have come over undocumented, but the Republicans get what they want, which is a bolstering of the border. That has been tantalizingly close multiple times. Normally, it's been Republicans, including now the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, when he was in the Senate, who walked away from it because they thought it was a good political issue for them to do. You do not need to deal with immigration by breaking the law.
Can I have 1 minute?
All right, very quickly, Vinny, and then Gillian.
How many ICE detainees died? How many detainees, illegals died under Obama? Do you know the number, Lewis, since you're so factual and you have the history report? How many?
How
57 died under Obama.
Yes, and you know what else? And you know what else I know, Vinny? You know what else I know? That there was a federal process.
Let me finish. You said the Biden administration lost control. This is your direct quote. They lost control of the border.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you are full of you-know-what. All right, it wasn't lost control. It was on purpose. They opened the border to flood the country to bring in their damn votes.
Well, how would they have been able to vote if they weren't citizens?
Excuse me,
all right.
Let me finish. When Texas The governor put a freaking barbed wire. The White House sued him and sent trucks to lift it up to bring these illegals. Enough of your nonsense. And don't talk about churches. You're talking about they're scared in churches. Look what the hell happened recently with the churches where the 2 BLM people came in there and the report just came out that they were telling the kids.
You know what? It sounds like you're saying,
Nazi,
Vinny, that Rennie Good and Alex Pretty had it coming,
and
it's disgusting.
By the end of that exchange, I think one thing became pretty clear. Vinny allowed his emotions to take over, and once that happened, the quality of the debate started to slip. Instead of calmly responding to the points being raised, the conversation became louder, more confrontational, and much less focused on the actual arguments. That's rarely a winning strategy in a live discussion. What stood out to me the most was the contrast in approach. Luis Goodall consistently tried to explain his position, refer back to what he had personally reported, and lay out why he believed the evidence supported his conclusions. Whether you agree with every point he made is entirely up to you, but he remained composed and kept returning to the substance of the discussion rather than simply raising his voice. That's often the difference between a persuasive argument and an emotional reaction. In political debates, volume doesn't automatically equal credibility. The strongest case is usually built on evidence, clear reasoning, and the ability to stay composed when you're under pressure. Now, it's also worth saying that immigration is one of the most divisive issues in modern politics. Most people agree that countries have the right to enforce their immigration laws and secure their borders. At the same time, many also believe that enforcement should be carried out lawfully, transparently, and with appropriate accountability. Those two ideas don't have to be mutually exclusive, and that's exactly why debates like this generate so much public attention. You could also see just how divided the political conversation has become. Too often, people consume information only from outlets or commentators who already reinforce what they believe. When that happens, genuine discussion becomes much harder because every disagreement is treated as proof that the other side can't possibly be acting in good faith. That kind of political echo chamber doesn't help anyone, regardless of where they fall on the ideological spectrum. Whether you sided with Luis, agreed more with Vinny, or found yourself somewhere in the middle, one thing is undeniable. This was a debate that exposed just how polarized the conversation around immigration has become. And that's exactly why exchanges like this continue to go viral. They reveal not just disagreements over policy, but fundamentally different ways of looking at the same events. Now I want to hear from you. Who do you think made the stronger case in this debate? Did Luis stay focused on the facts, or do you think Vinny raised important points that deserved more attention? Share your thoughts in the comments below because I'm genuinely interested to see where you stand. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more political commentary from an outside perspective covering the biggest debates making headlines, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.